Threshold VersaClimber. So here I'm doing 3 minutes on, 3 minutes off on the VersaClimber. So the purpose of this method is to train at or around what's known as your anaerobic threshold. And what this is going to do is it's going to improve the amount of power generated at threshold, and it's also going to increase the ability to maintain good posture, range of motion and technique under fatigue. So what threshold is basically working just flirting with the top end of your aerobic zone. 5 beats below or 5 beats above what's known as your anaerobic threshold. So you're at that point just before you start to work without the presence of oxygen. So it's a case of sort of hanging tough in this position whilst trying to maintain good posture. So what you need to do with the anaerobic threshold method is choose an exercise that allows you to measure power output or distance covered over time. As athletes increase their endurance, what you'll find is they will be able to generate greater power over a given time interval. So the more I do this and work at threshold, the better I will be at generating power consistently over a longer period of time. So the anaerobic threshold changes depending on the position the athlete is in. So in this case, I'm on a VersaClimber, I'm in a standing position, whereas if I was on a bike, I might lose 5 or 10 beats per minute of my anaerobic threshold. Basically that sort of top end heart rate. So it's things to bear in mind, whereas running, my heart rate might be even higher at threshold. So a way to work out your anaerobic threshold, if you don't quite know, is one of two things. So you could do a 12-minute steady pace run and pick out the average heart rate for that 12-minute run, where you're trying to run at a pace where you can consistently maintain that pace for 12 minutes, what's known as a Cooper run. The other option is you're working on that VersaClimber in this, and literally you're working so hard that you would not be able to talk to me while you're doing it, and generally that's probably around threshold area. So the average heart rate over a 12-minute, if you choose your 12-minute mark, will basically provide an estimate of the anaerobic threshold. So general guidelines for the threshold method are, so basically you've got to maintain a heart rate between threshold level, 5 beats per minute above threshold, for 5 to 10 minutes usually. Now here I'm doing 3 minutes on, 3 minutes off, and this is typically where I'd start most people at with this. So what I'm looking to do is produce as much power as possible within the anaerobic threshold range. Maintain the same pace throughout the work period. So I want to start at the same pace that I've finished. So VersaClimber is awesome for this because it'll give you how many steps you're doing per minute, which is amazing. You're trying to keep that consistent pace throughout. So you've got to use moderate resistance to get your heart rate up to the right range, yeah? So what you've got to watch is your heart rate and the power output during this exercise I've already said. And think about posture, pace, face. So maintaining good posture throughout, maintain the same pace and relax your face. If you start to tense your face on this, if you start to tense up, your heart rate will spike and you'll gas out. So you've got to stay relaxed whilst maintaining that posture on the threshold method. So that is threshold method on the VersaClimber, 3 minutes on, 3 minutes off.